This is Whiskey Wanderlust.
And we're on an expedition to discover how Colorado is elevating craft spirits from grain to glass.
We bring whiskey explorers like you an inside look at the distilled stories, colorful characters, and rich flavors that make Colorado a true whiskey frontier.
So, pour yourself a dram
And join us on an unforgettable journey.
on this episode, Bear Creek Distillery. Welcome to Whiskey Wanderlust. We are your hosts, Ryan.
Corey.
Welcome. Happy New Year to you and your family. Hope you all had a great holiday season. You might be joining us in dry January.
More like Rye January.
Yeah. If so, we're sorry. We are not partaking in that. But yeah, we're here.
We've got a podcast to keep pushing with, right?
We got to keep on trying new stuff and keep it flowing. So,
but we hope you guys had a wonderful holiday season. Ryan and I certainly did. We had an opportunity to attend a couple of really cool events in the early part of December, which were really cool. Yeah. Bear Creek was one, right? Their 10-year anniversary.
Yep, 10-year anniversary, and they had a special release, which you've gotten your hands on here.
Yes, Debo and the team, team down there, let us know that they were releasing that, so we got in on that, which is quite a good expression. So if you're lucky enough to get your hands on one of these, we'd like to hear your feedback and how much you're enjoying that as well. But I know the bottles went quickly. So
yeah, and it was a cool event. We covered it on our social media. Go check it out on Instagram and Facebook. And
yeah, super cool vibe. They had, we went up on their competition night.
Yeah,
the cocktail competition. Yeah, pretty and cool. They were slinging drinks left and right. It was busy, and man, that place and we'll get into it in the episode. Their steampunk ski lodge, right? Yeah. It's a super cool vibe in there. But that place was packed, and they were certainly having a lot of fun. Ryan was busy as ever behind the bar there, and super fun to watch.
Yeah. The other event we attended was the opening of Law's, the Whiskey Sanctuary, the new tasting room, which I wouldn't call a tasting room. It's more of a...
Well, it's a lounge. Their tours kick off from there. Mm-hmm. They do have the kind of speakeasy tasting bar there too.
Yeah, and a sanctuary. They got QC and stuff. All this was covered on social media as well, so go and check out that video.
Yeah,
we'll be bringing you some special coverage on that at a later date too. So
yeah, we were able to get a full on interview with Al Laws with that. So we'll be dropping that at some point. He obliged us with some extra time that night, which was fantastic.
Yeah,
and he was busy shaking hands stuff like that, but he gave us some extra time, so that was really cool. And quick shout out to Casey and Sam and the team there. They did an awesome job putting that event on, and I know that it was an ordeal getting to the occupancy, but they got there, and it's a very exciting space.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space. And so if you want to see that, there's a little bit of it. We put a video together. It's on our social media.
Yeah.
If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and rate us. It really helps us out, and then you won't miss out on any of this stuff that we're putting out there. So,
and who knows, we might be running a competition for these new swag shirts that
if you didn't notice, or if you're listening, go check out the video. But we've got brand new shirts designed by Corey. Doing everything in-house here, and you'll start seeing these on a few of the episodes.
Drop us rating, and we might send some gifts in the mail here in the next month or so.
Yeah, and if you're interested in the shirts, let us know. Shoot us a line on social or email or whatever.
Drop us a message up for sure.
Maybe we'll start putting some of these out there.
So we dropped our first episode just 2 months ago. This is now our third episode, and before we move on any further, I do want to thank our early supporters that we've already gotten. Yeah. You guys have been great. You guys have been helping us getting our name out there on socials, liking, sharing stuff. It's been great. We really appreciate that. And we're just blessed that you guys are helping us out with this project. So
yeah, it's been a real labor of love, and it's pretty much a second job almost. Well, all the effort we're putting behind it, and so we really appreciate it.
For those of you who might not know, Ryan does media production for a living, and he does all the video recording for us. And if you're listening, go check us out on YouTube, and you'll be able to see a lot of his handiwork throughout the episodes. But he does this for a living, and the editing is no small feat. So he does now.
Yeah, and all the web presence and social media and stuff, which is
That's
not my forte.
Yeah, that's
You're
my
taking
side of the
that.
house, and that's
Yeah.
been no small feat either. So it's been a ton of fun. We're certainly not complaining. We're enjoying it. It's been a lot of a labor of love, like he expressed. So
Yeah.
But that brings us to today, which is episode 3, which is Bear Creek up in Denver, where we interviewed Jay Johnson and Ryan Stoltzfus up there. Their brand ambassador, sales manager, right? Also, cocktail extraordinaire too, because he slings drinks behind the bar.
In-house doctor and tour guide and
astronaut. Cowboy. Yeah. He even has an alter ego that you'll get introduced to here. So,
and if you're listening to this, you'll hear it in the episode, but you got to go check it out on the video side of things because it's hilarious.
Well, that, and I mean, even following the Bear Creek socials, right? He pops up in there too. So we're not going to divulge too much, but just want to tease that in there because that's a really fun part of the interview. So, Ryan, what stuck out to you with this interview?
I think one of the things that really stuck out with me was Ryan Stoltzfus. He's a wealth of knowledge, both like on the granular level where he's talking about grain. He's talking about he's a certified bourbon steward, professional Scotch, or he's a certified Scotch professional.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Too, and just like he's really getting into the nerdy side of things, and he's got a background in baking, which we cover too, and he dropped some cool science on us to let us know why whiskey is technically gluten-free.
Yep.
And so it was really cool. Like there's a lot of stuff that I had no knowledge of, and it was just really neat to.
Well, in his background too in the coffee world, right?
Yeah.
And baking, he really leans heavy into the tasting and the flavors of the products, which is, I mean, a huge asset for Bear Creek, right? But Jay, on the other hand, is obviously one of the founders. Came from a pest control background, and we joked that it was poison. Both worlds, just different types, right?
Just different kind.
But his background and founding the distillery with some friends, they old skater friends, skate rats, I think as they call themselves, right? They wanted to go into business together, and they just started looking for ideas. And one of them had recently done a distilling class, and so they end up settling in on doing a distillery together, which I think of all the folks we've interviewed so far, I don't think anybody's been like, oh, we didn't really care what we were getting into,
just as long as we were doing it together.
As long as we were doing it, that is kind of what that was kind of their approach, and which is kind of cool. So most of them have set out specifically to, and maybe they had a different journey to get there, but they set out to start a distillery in the beginning. So this one did not. So and then their aspect of community I thought was really cool with their collaboration, the Colorado Whiskey Collab that they did with the 10 other distilleries, right? Them and Laws went in to help donate to a urban peak homelessness or anti-homelessness program there, and it's right in their neighborhood. There's a really cool building helping unhoused teens, and just that's super cool. So dive in and find out about that too. So
and this was a really fun episode. I think it comes through in the episode. We just had a ton of fun, and I think the energy at Bear Creek is just always great.
I mean, Jay and Ryan and even, meeting Debo later, they're just a bunch of fun guys, and they just enjoy having fun. So this was a real treat for us. So,
So enjoy this episode, our interview with Jay Johnson and Ryan Stoltzfus with Bear Creek Distillery.
Welcome to Whiskey Wanderlust. We're here at Bear Creek Distillery with Jay and Ryan. Thanks for having us down here. Excited to have a conversation, check out your beautiful place here. But we were just joking offline about a few things, so we're already got some smiles on our faces. But Jay, tell me, how do you go from being in pest control into distilling whiskey?
A lot of it's dumb luck.
Dumb luck?
Yeah, I've managed to stumble upwards in life, which is pretty good skill to have. This whole project's born out of lifelong relationships that I've had with my business partners. Ran into one of my business partners. He has a boatload of kids. I have a boatload of kids. Sort of rekindled our friendship. And that turned into sort of a what if scenario between that business partner and Jeff, who is our head distiller. started out as, hey man, we should really get together and do something. We weren't sure of what space we were going to do said something in.
But it wasn't going to be pest control.
Wasn't going to be pest control. We knew it was going to be poison of some sort, but not deadly poison.
Right.
Well, I guess this could be considered deadly poison if you
That's true.
too far. Yeah. Jeff was fresh off a trip to Peach Street. He was in Palisade. And
that's the distillery out in Palisade.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And they're OGs. They're one of the first two.
Yeah, they're great folks.
Yeah.
Good friends of ours.
Yeah, we're actually really good. We're tight with those guys. But he went down there and his sort of offering was like, hey, let's look at the whole distillery thing that's going on. And this is back in 2012. At that time, you had Stranahan's, you had Peach Street, of course, Leopold Brothers, Dancing Pines, which has morphed into Family Jones.
Okay.
So Family Jones bought their facility up there, as well as the one they have up here. But it was Dancing Pines at that time. So it was a pretty small sample
291
size.
was just barely starting up.
Right? Yeah, we had no idea who 291 was at that point.
Yep.
But I know that we all there was a group of us that all kind of started right around the same time, 291 and us as well, and even Vapor. Although they're a little bit older than we are because they were Roundhouse at one point.
Yep.
So at that time it was very new. We were sort of at the forefront of what was going on in Denver. Even at that time though, Denver and Colorado was being recognized as putting out some pretty good product, right?
Right.
So we sort of decided that that's something that we wanted to pursue. We had weekly meetings. We had quarterly meetings that turned into monthly meetings that turned into weekly meetings that turned into buying this building. And I had always maintained, we don't have to follow in the trappings of what people think of Colorado whiskey, miners and cowboys.
Right.
We looked at this building, and obviously you can't see it from here, but we bought a saloon. So that's
well, we're bucking the trends.
Yeah. So we really we.
When Billy Bob walks in here every now and again, right?
I don't know. This is one way from home.
So it started from there. We didn't really have. I mean, I worked in the hospitality industry for years, as well as Debo, my other business partner. So we had limited knowledge, so it was on us to basically teach ourselves the industry. And in that first couple of years that it took us to build this out, because we bought this in 2012, we didn't open to the public till 2014.
Okay.
So we had some time during the build out. So we really focused on visiting the existing distilleries in Colorado, and then we traveled out of state as well.
Right.
Jeff went to Journeyman, and he did some training at Koval, and that's how we have this beautiful still. Koval is Kota's stateside representation. Jeff trained there on this still and decided this is the one we needed. So
do they actually have a training facility or something?
No, I mean, just, you can go and shadow and things like that. So there are programs like even Downslope here in town. They have a distiller's class that you can take.
Okay.
It's pretty basic stuff, but I mean, for someone that doesn't have any baseline knowledge, it was helpful.
Right.
Yes, we got this big old still we call Hot Donna. Instructions came in German. None of us speak German.
No.
So
just Google Translate.
Yeah.
Copy and paste.
Yeah.
A lot of Googling.
It's like, this looks like this goes together. So basically we built this place around our still.
I mean, you're a typical guy, right? You didn't follow the instructions, right?
Oh, no. We just
started putting it together, right?
Yeah, why even send them in German?
Yeah, right?
Just duct tape whatever doesn't fit together right.
Don't look on the backside.
Yeah.
It's not good.
So
but it's a beautiful piece of equipment.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean,
it's great.
The Germans, if they've done anything well, it's engineering things. So, but we can do anything. We can make any spirit on the still here.
Wow.
One of the things we don't make is gin. A lot of times, if distilleries make gin on the same still that they make all their other products, everything just kind of tastes like gin.
Yeah.
So never say never, but right now we're not producing any gin. But that sort of walkabout, if you will, allowed us to sort of poach or pick and choose. I guess pick and choose would be a better choice of words of what we thought were components of successful distilleries that we liked.
Sure.
Quickly became obvious to us that sometimes tasting rooms, and depending on what the regulations are in your state, right?
Right.
Sometimes you're not really allowed to have cocktail bars or whatever, but luckily we are here. We chose
But you can only use your products, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So we chose to really go after that front to back motto of having our tasting room be something impressive. I feel like we were kind of at the forefront of that in Colorado, of really elevating that tasting room experience. So that's where we started. And then from there, we made vodka and rum, and we waited 2 years before we released any of our whiskey. And now it's 10 years.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And for our audience, we're sitting just inside their distillery, and just behind the cameras is their beautiful tasting room that they have. And hopefully you guys will get a shot of that during our tasting, our tour. But I mean, in terms of tasting rooms that I've been to in the state, I've been to a lot of them. This is one of the coolest, in my opinion. It's got a really cool vibe, and it looks really good. So
tell us a little bit about your tasting room. Like, what was the thought that went into
So we had a pretty forward-thinking general contractor who also did a lot of the design for us, but there was a lot of lumber involved.
Yeah.
And then we were like, all right, this is getting too ski lodgy. So we threw some, metal finishes in there. I like to call it like a steampunk ski lodge.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Tracks.
And there's but a lot of the things are high-end finishes, like, the tile that we use, a backsplash behind the bar, Spanish scale tile. We didn't want just a regular old mirror, so we did that. So
well, and your diversity in spirits lets you guys kind of cater to the audience a lot. So it's not just a whiskey tasting bar, right? Which those have a very different vibe here. I mean, I'm pretty sure you served my wife and I when we came down. Now I'm thinking about it, but we came in here. There was lively bunch. There was very large mix of crowd stuff there. It was a really cool vibe.
You guys regularly have a DJ in here, like a standing?
Yep, it's Saturday nights are a big DJ. Every Sunday we have DJs.
Okay.
Certain Fridays we have DJs.
And you've had some big names come through too, right?
We do. There's some traveling guys that have come through, and we have a couple of our own standalone events during the year. The adult lemonade stand, and we also do wax and whiskey. But the adult lemonade stand is focused on like famous touring DJs. We've had coming up. We have Cut Chemist coming. We've had Scratch Bastard. We've had DJ Newmark.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, and the biggest touring name that comes through here is your business partner, right?
Yeah. He
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. He's the best one out of all of them.
What's his DJ name?
So he and his buddy have a DJ crew, I guess would be the proper term, and it's Party Shark Music.
Okay.
So it's just Debo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So he puts on a good show.
Well, so Ryan, I mean, your journey here, as I understand, you came from a different beverage.
I did.
Still brewed.
Still
but
brewed.
Coffee.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay, tell us how you connect coffee into whiskey and spirit.
I can do that. Thank you for asking. Wonderful question. I might take it back a little bit further, if I may.
Sure.
As far back as you want.
Well, 1987, great year.
Oh man,
Popped out into this world.
No, you hear that? He's a product of the 80s. This already got off to a great start.
Yeah, I don't know what that means anymore. So I'm from Kentucky, and growing up there, they actually produce a little whiskey. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that or not, but
I've heard of it.
They're up and comers.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it meant nothing to me growing up there. I didn't drink.
Something your parents fed you when you were an infant?
No, my parents didn't drink. I actually come from a dry home.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In a great way. Like I love that. Like it was such a good upbringing, and so, but it was around. Like I knew that it was a big part of tourism, and it's just around, right? But I started working at bakeries after college because I got a degree in recreation because the outdoors are cool.
So you're going to baking.
So then I go into baking. Obviously,
it's recreational.
Yeah, obviously. But I've always enjoyed baking. When I was a kid, it was either going to be astronaut, cowboy, or baker. Those were my options. So
2 of 3.
Two
Check,
of three.
check.
Actually, recently been able to check that cowboy box for sure.
Oh, I thought you were going to say astronaut. I was like, wow, we're in good company,
This is
boys.
gonna go somewhere, guys. Hold on to your seats.
Your next stop. Yeah.
People do say I'm out of this world. So.
That's true.
Oh
I don't
my
know.
goodness.
That joke was too.
I digress. So baking is something that I've always enjoyed. I did it with my grandmother, with my mom, and so I started dabbling a little bit into the bread world, and then got a job working at bakeries. So I say that to say grain was something I got really into. Just all the different varieties and how they acted and tasted and how to use them and manipulate them. It was great.
Interesting.
And so when I moved out here in 2014, got a job at a bakery, and then that's when I transitioned into the coffee world from that. So I kind of had that grain background, and that was always something that I enjoyed. Moving into coffee, it's another crop, another agricultural product, which I love. From a farming town, and my dad was an ag teacher for 30 years. Like that's a big part of who I am as well. And so coffee was great because you get to celebrate, variety and flavors. And it was Corvus coffee roasters, so we were roasting and sourcing like all these interesting coffees from all over the world. And it was kind of my time to really develop a palate more than anything else, because it was very sensory driven. Because we were doing QC all the time, and we were trying to sell this great product in the best way we could to our consumers, our customers. And so being able to talk about it and recommend things was really important.
Yeah.
So I was over there for about 7 years, but while I was doing that, Bear Creek opened up. Corvus is just across the street. And so I would walk here after work and drink some whiskey. And when I was closing, usually not after opening shifts, but
not first thing in the morning.
Right.
Putting the coffee on.
Yeah. But it was great.
You hear that he's a fan of Irish coffee. So
I don't know. I just kind of got to know people, and I really liked being here. I think we all need places where we feel comfortable to go out to.
Sure.
Like you want to walk in somewhere and be like, this is kind of my spot. I know a person or two. Like they know my face. They might know my name.
Right.
I love that. And I still need that. I think we all do. I go to the Englewood Grand a lot, shout out, for that very reason of that is my spot. That is where I just go to relax. And so Bear Creek was absolutely that for me at that time. And so kind of just weaseled my way in and started just bar backing a day or two a week, and did that for a little while. So that's kind of how I got my foot in the door, I guess.
Well, then they hired you on, and then I understand you weren't originally a part of the sales team like you are now. You were doing other things, correct? So how did you tell us a bit more about the journey here?
Yeah, journey, it is that. I think, again, starting as a bar back, just part-time and doing that up until COVID. And then I guess during that time, I was still working at Corvus. We opened a bakery actually, which was really great because I kind of got to get back into that world. And then in 2021, I came on full time here, and I got to do a little bit of everything. I was
right time to help him make hand sanitizer.
Yeah,
we never did.
No?
Okay.
We never did.
Good on you.
We made booze.
Yeah.
Put it in barrels.
There was plenty of that needed too. So
Absolutely.
So I understand that you've held many titles here, including doctor and.
I told him we call you doctor.
Yeah.
I am a doctor of whiskey, you might say. No, my first name is Daniel, and my middle name is Ryan. So I go by Ryan. So DR are my initials.
Okay.
Familiar,
it's just like me.
So,
great name, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
You know what they
mean
say?
A lot of great
two
Ryans.
Ryans make a right.
Yeah.
So just
Another
sit on
astronaut
that.
joke.
Certainly not left. Right.
Yeah, and that's what I love about small business. You do get to wear a lot of different hats, and so working in production with Jeff, bartending, and that's just what I got to do. Megan is our bar manager and has been doing it for a very long time, and she's such a wonderful person to work with.
She's the best.
Yeah, she truly is. And so being able to bartend for a few years was great, and then kind of a sales position opened up, and so just kind of.
Well, you're skating right over tour guy.
Well, yeah, and a tour guide.
Yeah.
I do that as
The
well.
best
Yeah.
tour guy.
Yeah.
No, that was actually really fun to step into while I was bartending, because I think that's important, right? Like you have to be able to offer experiences, and because there's a lot of excitement around this industry, and people want to hear about what you're doing. fully aware that a lot of folks have been on many tours, and so try to keep it a little interesting. At the end of the day, like we're all doing the same thing, and so you're gonna hear things that are the same. But I mean, we're our own selves, like we're our own business, and we are a little bit different. And I love being able to tell that story, give some history, and get people excited about what we're doing.
So I understand your newest title is certified bourbon steward, correct?
Yeah.
Tell us about that process, what it took to get that certification.
You know, not gonna lie, it's just you pay money, take a test, and get a certification. You know,
pay to play.
Yeah, no, that's a certification through the Stave and Thief Society. They're definitely kind of the go-to for a lot of folks in the industry. They just have 2 levels, and it's a really good way to just make sure you have your base knowledge dialed in. You can kind of prove that, and so it just involves like studying a lot and tasting a lot. And I mean, it's not a brag, it's just a fact. I am a certified Scotch professional as well. Yeah. I'm just saying. But and I got that just because I wanted to have more of a holistic approach to this.
Sure.
And because I enjoy the category as a whole. And it's just, I love learning, and that gave me an outlet for that, of getting those certifications. And they don't necessarily mean anything at the end of the day. I mean, they do and they don't, right? Like I still have to be able to execute. I still have to be able to do my job, and but those certifications have helped me a lot, because again, it's all about learning and education for myself, and I love being able to educate others through tours and working in the tasting rooms.
Yeah, I want to circle back to something you said earlier. I mean, and you being the proud new owner of a plant that makes us all family guys, right? But you talked about community and stuff, and that, Jay, that was one thing we talked about a lot before too, is the importance of family and community and stuff to you. But tell us a little bit, kind of circle back to pre-Bear Creek, right? And talk to us a little bit more about your family history too. Because like, as I understand, your business partners, you guys went to junior high together?
Junior high and high school.
And so
yeah, we went to Bear Creek High School, Lakewood, Colorado. Go Bears.
And your wife was suspect of you getting in business with them, correct?
Yeah, she knows all these guys. She grew up with the same guys I did. So
yeah, and these, I think you called your gutter trash skateboarding friends. Is that what you called yourselves earlier?
We were all skate rats for sure. And then hockey has played a major common arc in my life. And one of my business partners, we grew up playing hockey together.
Gotcha.
We still play hockey together, you know. So that's sort of how the whole ball got rolling, if you will. But yeah, she was like, "You're going into business with those guys. You have kids that are almost old enough to go to college." I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "That's not a great idea," but you know, we did it.
I'll start a second chapter on a down note, right? Let's.
So yeah, I mean, grew up in Lakewood. I've lived in Colorado since '77. Originally from New Orleans. We actually, as a team, took a trip to New Orleans for the American Craft Spirits Association last summer. Won a gold medal for our 6-year.
Awesome.
6 years straight.
And that award, I don't want to digress too far, but that award is significant to you guys, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to be recognized. I think even more, the satisfaction I get every day, not every day because it doesn't happen every day, but I wish it did. When someone sees my hat, they're like, "Oh, you've got great whiskey." That means more to me than a medal.
Right.
But I mean, as far as your contemporaries, you know, that's sort of them giving you know, a little more validation, if you will.
Right.
But I get more satisfaction out of the everyday compliment as opposed to a trophy, if you will.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So
you were circling back to New Orleans, and I think you were connected.
Oh yeah, I was just saying we all went, and it was a long 4 days, but we won our medal.
Yeah.
So
how did you receive that medal?
Shirtless.
Interesting.
Is there a video of that floating around?
There's some pictures. We have some good friends who have a distillery in St. Louis. And I was like, I'm going to Bert Kreischer this thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Bert Kreischer, but he's built a little bit like me. You know, athletic, but probably could put in a few more
in the
hours.
Jack Black way?
Yeah. And Bert's always taking his shirt off. And I was like, I'm going to Bert Kreischer this. He's like, I bet you won't. And that
Oh yeah.
Those are the magic words.
Yes.
So I
mean,
didn't technically receive
your
the
honor
medal.
is on the line now.
Well, I'm a gentleman, right? I'm like
Yes,
landed
yeah.
gentry.
Yeah.
So
This is beyond awards at this
yeah,
point.
this is,
Yes.
this is real life stuff. So I didn't technically receive the award with, as the Canadians say, tarps off. But after I went and got the award, I went tarps off in like a 5-star like ceremony where people, you know, it was, yeah.
Welcome to Bear Creek.
Fred Minnick was
Yeah.
was Fred Minnick in attendance.
He was there. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it was.
So you've been shirtless in front of Fred Minnick. That's
I've been shirtless in front of a lot of people.
Maybe we'll be treated here shortly.
Yeah, no. It's
Well,
way too
now,
late for something like that.
is this the award you received while also cartwheeling? Because you're world-class cartwheeler, right?
Yeah, I'm working on that. Last couple attempts didn't go well. So shirtless. Plus, if you cartwheel with a medal on, I think that's going to be like really sort of dangerous as you go topsy-turvy.
But not for a pro like you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I regained my amateur status, but you know, I guess if we practice makes perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Well, so while we're on the topic of receiving awards, I understand that you received an award from Fred Minnick as well.
yeah, we
as
got
well,
an ASCOT award that just came through recently. So the very first gold medal we ever received was for our cask strength rum. Super cool product. We actually just sold out for the year this last week, but we take, before we got our bourbons, we would take our silver rum and put it into used bourbon barrels. And it was always kind of a guest barrel program. Like back there now we have a Blanton's barrel laid down. It's been Austin Nichols Wild Turkey barrels. We've had Old Forester barrels.
Wow.
Breckenridge, Laws, you know, they're right down the street. They just roll down these big juicy barrels for us to use.
Peachtree.
Peachtree, yeah, we had like an 8-year-old Peachtree barrel?
7 or 8. Yeah, it's getting up there.
But first gold medal we ever received was for that particular product. It was one that was in a Wild Turkey barrel.
Okay.
And got our medal, and I was like, who is that man sitting at our table with that ascot? And turns out I met Fred Minnick that day. Yeah.
Great. I didn't know that.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
been
yeah.
fun.
Lots of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Happening.
So Fred Minnick, ascot, we still haven't necessarily gotten back. We're going to go try to distill this a third time, right? But you mentioned to us on like family is really important. So tell us more about like how those influences really helped you, like with your value stuff for Bear Creek, and obviously Doctor here is a recipient of that community, and like he feels it, right? So talk to us more about like the meaning of that in your distillery.
I've always maintained that you're only strong as not, and I always yell, you know, talk in my head, my inner dialogues, like, don't sound like a football coach. You're only as strong as your weakest link, right? So it's important to hire smarter and better people than you, people that have skill sets that you may not have. You know, and coming from a strong family background, I mean, you know, I had a 2-parent home all the way growing up. My mom just died a few years ago, but
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it sucked, but you know, it's all good. So I had a good base. You know, we weren't rich. We weren't, you know, we had each other. So that's just sort of the way we've raised our business. You know, we're raising ourselves too. I mean, we started this, I was in my early 40s, late 30s. Now I'm 52. So we've grown up, I mean, almost as like men. I don't feel like you grow up as a man until you're into your 40s, at least for me. So it was like, you know, you have guys that you care about that you start the business with. And then, you know, we've developed these amazing relationships with our employees. You know, it's anybody in our organization is allowed to bring an idea to the table. And I think that's important for people to feel like they can bring things to the table in a creative way and make an impact. Because if they can't, why have them part of the team?
Right.
So I don't know if that relates directly to my upbringing, but I have 3 daughters and I had 3 sisters growing up, so I had to learn quickly to adapt just for survival.
I'm with you. 3 sisters. I get that. Yeah.
So I think that's sort of correlated into being able to roll with the punches. And anytime you start a new business, I don't care what industry you're in, it's you have to be adaptable.
Yeah.
And especially these last 3 years has been crazy. It turned the liquor world on its head.
Right.
Our outside sales went like that, and then because everybody was just sitting at home,
Yeah.
But then the tasting room was closed.
Right.
And now with the uncertain times in the world and people kind of clutching their purse strings, if you will, people aren't buying a lot of expensive products in the marketplace. But the tasting room's doing great. So thank God we've had the counterbalance for both.
For sure.
But it's been a challenge, and without the right teammates, it would have been difficult. But we've weathered the storm. So perseverance.
So what are some moments and some stories that along the way that are like notable for you that really kind of have helped you get to where you're at today?
So Jeff's assistant Matt took it upon himself that he wanted to start art shows. So we do a First Friday art show every month, and it's
is that the one with the food trucks?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We have the food truck out. It's Blue Pan Pizza. I don't know. It's a Detroit style pizza, but they're kind of the darlings of the pizza world up here. We get them every Friday night. They sell more pizza to the surrounding neighborhoods than people that are actually at the distillery, because people know they're here and they'll place their orders. That's pretty cool, and we've turned sort of that art show dynamic into a new release that we're releasing Father's Day. It's a total departure from our normal branding, and we allowed an artist to create an image, and it's those are going to be finished whiskeys. This particular rye whiskey was aged in a breakfast stout from Off Berkeley Brewing.
Berkeley Alley.
Really screwed that up.
I got you.
Thank you. So
The doctor's here to help.
Yeah. The doc is in.
Yeah, we've done some cool stuff. We were able to we had a whiskey called Yeti whiskey for a little while. We partnered with Great Divide, and they gave us Imperial Stout barrels.
Oh, cool.
And we put rye whiskey in it, and we called it Yeti whiskey. And it was a hit. So Great Divide has a cask meats program, Jameson. So Jameson has lots of money and stuff. So they told them that they couldn't do that with us. So they chatted with them. They're like, look, it's just like a local release. It's only a certain amount of bottles. Not a big deal. So we co-branded a label. It's super cool. It's got the Yeti on it. And it was real clean. It was a great looking bottle. That came out and caught fire. And like it got written up in some magazines, some whiskey publications.
Oh, nice.
So they squashed that.
Yeah.
But that was cool. I mean, just we try to do some specialty finishes, that stuff. The parties we throw, the music, like you said, you enjoy the vibe. That sort of thing I'm super proud of. We do a lot of events. That's kind of where I spend my summertime, is out on the streets, getting liquor to lips, as we like to say. Whiskey
Good
Church,
market.
where I met you guys, stuff like that.
Whiskey Church,
Yep. And Ryan was there. So we sort of engage on all fronts, right? We've got our professional sales team. Loosely use that.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to slap that word on.
And then festivals. So, kind of, we're always like to be out in the public.
Right.
I don't think I answered any part of the question you asked me, but
No, you did. No,
No, yeah,
very
okay.
well. Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
And then Ryan, so being a part of this family, close knit business, what does it mean for you to be a part of this?
I mean, it's everything. I think family is it's a word we throw around a lot when it comes to like a small business, and in a good way, I think. But sometimes it gets a little overused, perhaps. But this truly has been a weird, mostly functional home for me. A little dysfunctional, but it has. I've spent a lot of time here, as we all do, over the years as a customer and now as an employee, and I feel valued. Like we feel taken care of here. And one of the things that I love most about this place is the tenure that people have. Folks tend to stick around a little bit, and that goes a long way for me.
What is average tenure here?
I don't know. I mean, I think the
median is probably at what, 5 years?
That's good.
Maybe a little less. Probably about 4 3/4.
Yeah. Okay. 4 and 7/8. Yeah. Who's counting?
Right under.
But it's
141 days, right?
Yeah. For being in the service industry, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it allows us to grow closer together.
Mhm.
Like, I trust everyone I work with. I know that we have each other's back. I love spending time with them outside of work, genuinely, and that means a lot to me. So, and again, it gives me an outlet for kind of the things that I was talking about. Like, I do spend a lot of time reading. I do spend a lot of time tasting and working on certifications for myself. And this helps me justify it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I love tours. I'm just like, I want to talk about this stuff. I want to share it with
Jay
people.
needs you to do that, right? It's part of building the brand, right? So he's like, yeah.
So it really
Dude.
is like a weird family, and I love
Tell
it
them
so
about
much.
the Fight Club. Or do we talk about Fight Club?
We can talk. I mean,
And that's first rule.
Well,
We're already breaking it.
I'm just trying to demonstrate how dynamic that Ryan is. I mean, he's not only tour guide, internet celebrity, salesman, and he works on Sundays. He actually works a bar shift. So,
absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to.
I don't know how you do it all on top of being a doctor and astronaut. I mean, that's
It's
like,
yeah.
Well, stars have to align. I'm
Yeah.
going to keep using these
Yeah.
things. No, Whiskey Fight Club is something I started doing a couple years ago, I guess, and I changed. So I do have my rule, because you got to have rules of Fight Club, right? It's important. But my first 2 rules are: you don't talk to your distributor about Fight Club, and you don't talk to Westward about Fight Club. Sorry. But I guess here we are. So it's on the internet.
Oh, let's not talk about Fight Club then. Sorry.
Yeah,
It'll just remain
at the
a
end of the
mystery.
day, it's just my effort to build community within our industry.
since we're not going to talk about it, what exactly is Fight Club?
It really is. So it's I've been trying to do it twice a year. I skipped this past winter, but essentially it's a tasting competition, blind tasting competition.
Okay.
Emphasis is more on party, less on the competition. But it's just, distilleries show up and compete, as a team.
Okay.
And it's been really cool to see getting, 10 to 15 different distilleries in the same room, just hanging out, and we get to know each other. I've had 3 or 4 now, and people come back. And so it's nice to see that, because sometimes that's the only opportunity you get to see some of these folks.
Right.
Yeah, everybody you've done podcasts up with, they're there.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah,
It's the who's who, if you will.
I just appreciate people giving it a shot, honestly.
Yeah.
And that, I have to give credit where credit's due. Bardstown Bourbon Company put on a tasting competition, and that was kind of my inspiration for that, because I got to be a part of that and kind of see what it was all about. And that there just aren't any, and because no one's really asking for it, to be honest. Right? Like, we need more whiskey tasting competitions, but maybe we do, because it's really fun. So that's kind of my.
I've not been to one, but it's high on my list. I'll tell you that.
I'll let you know when the next one's happening.
So it's open to the public.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's my.
Yeah.
So I want it to be. I just say that I ask that you work at a distillery if you're going to compete, but anyone can come. And I want the community to be involved as much as possible. I get a beer sponsor from a brewery that's a different distillery hosts each time.
Okay.
And so we find a brewery that's close by that they have a relationship with. We get beer sponsors, we get food sponsors. And so try to get other businesses to be a part of it as well. And so we can all kind of be a part of this.
Oh, we'll just edit all
If
this
there
out.
were such a thing as a Whiskey Fight Club,
If there, yes.
that's kind of what it would be.
It sounds great.
Supposedly.
Yeah, hopefully that'll get
Yeah.
off the ground one day.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a really good industry and community out here, and it really has given me a place, and I feel like I can do this for a long time.
Tell us the origin story of Billy Bob Bourbon, right? And for those of you who don't know, Billy Bob Bourbon is a little bit of a caricature that they've developed, and go check them out on their Instagram.
Yeah. We'll insert a clip here.
Billy Big Head Bourbon here. Well, friends, why don't you come on down, even if you got your kids. Woo! We got some little board games. We can even break out that little iPad so they can play the little angry sparrows, angry bird, crows. If you're angry crows, that's what they're playing these days. If you're on a second date, you're trying to figure out, ooh, are they the one? Or are they just gonna sit there and talk about their crypto and how you need to invest in their oddly shaped scheme? You can figure that out too. You want an invitation? Ooh, here it is. Why don't you get your old behind down here, sit down in one of my stools and see what happens.
Perfect.
That was hilarious.
Oh my God. Yeah. Honestly, that was just my friend Logan that works here as well as a bartender.
We just got engaged.
He just got engaged.
Congratulations, Logan.
She said yes.
Yay!
He's done a lot of filming and film editing, and he's done a lot of stand-up, and so he's a
Hawaiian
whole
shirt
thing.
aficionado as well.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's too cold, or else I would have had a Hawaiian shirt on today.
Yeah.
You got to get the Hawaiian flannel out.
I'm gonna have to find one.
So he was just like, hey, we should do like a used car salesman thing with whiskey. Just set up a kind of a fuzzy green screen and do this thing. I was like, I guess I'm kind of here for it. So yeah, he obviously had like a cowboy hat that I could wear. I don't know where it came from, but yeah, and we were upstairs in our prep area and we just filmed for a while, and I just talked about nothing, and it was a good time. So, and it's become a little bit bigger than it probably needed to be. So,
What were some of the inspirations behind the character?
Probably drawing on my upbringing a little bit.
Okay.
Kind of getting into a little bit more of the South a bit.
So this is a neighbor.
Well, maybe a little bit.
And I know your neighbors
yeah,
are not close in Kentucky, so
Yeah. Robbie, you're great. No, you were not like that. I think it was mostly that, and there was a period of time where I talked about horses for a while for no reason at all, but there's a lot of horses in Kentucky as well, turns out. And
they have a small race there, right? So,
it's pretty small.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Billy Bob Bourbon just kind of became its own thing, and I don't know. All of the clips came from that one filming session, so I don't really know.
You got a season's worth of
I think there's about 7 or so.
So Logan's keeping these things under wraps and unveiling them. Yeah,
piecemealing them out.
Yeah, blackmailing you.
Yeah, it's pretty
I mean,
much.
so I mean, as a marketing guy myself, I have to applaud your social media presence. It's among the better ones, especially in the spirits world. I mean, and it's some of the stuff you guys have put out there is really funny, but it's clever and it's not over the top. Like
we're really dry, boring guys, so I'm sure you've been able to
totally
retain from this interview.
Yeah, Jake does a really good job. Shout out to Jake, working that social media, and it just keeps it going.
Yeah,
it's great. I agree. Like, I think it's important to have a little bit of a presence, and they've done a really good job.
But just on the whole, I think traditional advertising and marketing aren't really what's driving things. You have to be current and contemporary, know. Mm-hmm. That's where a lot of people go for their content. So you have to, if you're gonna have a good product, you got to have good promotion of that product.
Right.
Yeah.
And you guys highly regulated industry. There's a little bit of a you guys can't sell directly through Instagram. I mean, so there's there's a little bit of it's more brand building and stuff. But the cool thing is people are attaching those things to you guys, and they're finding you guys humorous. And I'm sure if they're from out of town, you're going to be high on their list to come check out, right? See if they can come down and get Billy Bob Bourbon's autograph, right?
Absolutely.
So it's fun. You guys are doing a good job on that. So
thank you.
Yeah,
he's here every Sunday. Well, Ryan's here every Sunday.
A couple weeks ago, I put the hat on.
Did you?
Yeah.
The crowd went wild.
A little bit.
The mustache too?
No. It was half on like the whole time. It was hilarious. One day I'll be able to grow facial hair. Probably not.
It's fine. It's a lot to deal with. Well, I only have
super insecure about it. So
and when you have like a triple chin like I have, like you have to put something
Helps
on the porch.
conceal.
Yeah,
I get it.
Put something on the porch.
That's why I wear these big horn rim glasses to hide the bags that are always under my eyes. It's all an effect, folks. It's a natural filter.
Well, you have those bags because you spend so much time developing your cool new products, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about like what goes into your product. I mean, you guys have some really good stuff. I'm a big fan of your 5 and 6 year bourbons you guys have produced. I also really like your ryes, but you have some interesting products. You've got some rye-based vodkas. So tell us the ideation process. What goes into developing your products, and how do you guys go about producing that? And talk to us a little more about that process.
Our goal from the very beginning was to make approachable spirits. So with that being said, we didn't want anything too spicy or anything too pronounced in any of our spirits. And a lot of people do distill their spirits that way, and that's what they're going for. And I happen to enjoy some of those too. But for us, we wanted to make approachable spirits. Our goal is to become Colorado's go-to craft brand across all spirit types.
Okay.
So the rye vodka in particular, which we'll be tasting here in a minute, vodka by definition is supposed to be odorless taste. It's supposed to be neutral. That rye imparts a bit of spice that even carries through the distillation on vodka. A lot of people, if they're vodka purists, if you will, are a little bit not turned off, but at first they're like, "Oh, what's going on there?" Because most mass-produced vodkas are odorless and tasteless.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have a rye vodka, we have a corn vodka, and we have a wheat vodka. And sort of to mirror that, we've got our 3 styles. Actually, yes, 3 styles of our whiskey. We have a rye whiskey, a wheat whiskey, and then bourbon. Right. Bourbon is majority corn. So those 3 kind of mirror each other on either side. And we actually distill individual grains as well in those vodkas. So that's a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can even taste the flavor variations. We did develop the corn vodka within the last couple of years to really offer that sort of most neutral flavor profile. All things distilled, unless something's done post-production, are gluten-free. But I found that argument is almost not worth having because unless it's got that gluten-free distinction on it, people will argue with you. But that was our product. We're like, okay, we understand there's a need, so we're going to go ahead and create Colorado's version of a corn vodka that is gluten-free, even though the other ones are. So we kind of just put that out there.
Go ahead.
I just, as a baker, it is important for me to like kind of define that a little bit of why it is gluten-free, because it is a good conversation to have. It does feel like it doesn't matter what you say, but I'm going to say it.
Go, Ryan.
Essentially, gluten is a protein.
Right.
And protein is essentially not volatile, so it can't break down into steam. And so the only thing that will get through your still to the end is going to be steam that is condensed back into a liquid. And so you physically cannot get gluten through your system into that finished product.
Right.
There's just no way that's going to happen because it has to be steam that will then, again, condense back into a liquid, and protein will not break down.
Right.
So that's kind of why.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
That's one to grow on.
Yeah.
We had a conversation similar to this with Eric down at 291. Right? He can't drink, or he can't do gluten, right? And to be sitting there sipping whiskey, you tell me, I'm like, wait, what?
How does this work?
How does this work? And he got into it. So I mean, this guy that head distiller at 291, and he's a testament to it because he actually lives with that daily. So yeah, that's really fascinating. That's cool to get a little bit of a from your perspective, and then you as you got the horse. Yeah, that was more the astronaut explanation, really.
He's a whiskey nerd. He knows all that stuff.
Bit of a nerd.
So cycle back in.
So it's we weren't beholden to a style, right? We weren't. Hey, we're only going to do American single malts, or we're only going to do bourbon, or we're only going to do. As to sort of circle back to part of our conversation earlier in our tasting room, we can make whatever cocktail we want, but we only can use the spirits that we produce. So that was sort of the driving force behind some of the decisions we made. we want people to be able to come in and yes, try our cocktails, our own creations, but then have stuff that's on the menu that they might be familiar with as well.
Right.
To really create that cocktail experience.
Yeah.
And as a grain to glass distillery, we didn't source any whiskey. We didn't source anything. So at the very beginning, all we had was vodka and rum.
Right.
So it was, it made sense to go vodka and rum at the beginning,
Right.
and we've always set out to make whiskey, right? We've always set out to make this product right there for straight bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had conversations with if that corn vodka becomes the one thing that makes us, then we're a corn vodka distillery. I say that tongue in cheek, but so that sort of gave us the freedom to do some different things. We were one of the first distilleries in Colorado that released 100% wheat whiskey, and even the people that do, it's not. That's an inline constant product for us. Like people have wheat whiskey releases.
Right.
For instance, a little bit of a segue here. We had a Colorado distillers collaboration that we released last summer. And it was 7 distilleries that all made a wheat whiskey. We let it rest down at Law's Whiskey House. It was 291, us, Old Elk, Woods High Mountain Distillery, State 38, Law's. Is that 7 yet? If I forget anybody, I'm really sorry, you guys.
Oh God.
If you have any concerns, email Jay.
Yeah. Ryan at Bear Creek Distillery. So it was 2 53-gallon barrels, and we all were able to take our portion after it aged down at Law's and sell it for charity. So Urban Peak is constructing a new dorm and high school for unhoused teens, and it sits directly halfway between Law's and us. So we both decided as entities to make that, rather than just the $8,000, it became $7,500. It became $1,500, $15,000. Boy, my math is really off this morning. And we felt like we could make a greater impact that way.
Right.
So we've also got we have a rye whiskey that's up at Woody Creek that's going on 6 years that we just haven't gotten coordinated enough to get that one released. But what I'm doing here is circling back around, talking about, community.
Sure.
And as much as we are competitors, we're all, we all want great whiskey in Colorado.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want someone to come here or spend $75 on a boutique bottle of bourbon from someone from Colorado and not like it.
Right.
Because you know what? They're not going to drink Colorado whiskey again.
Right.
So it behooves all of us to look out for each other.
For sure.
And, off camera, we've talked about all the people that we know in common, and it really is a close community. And I would even, the word family is probably overused, but I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
Kind of like family.
Yeah. Well, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is your Angel Share segment.
Yeah.
And just to highlight it real quick, because we always talk about it every episode, but Ryan and I met as foster parents in it, and so and we're largely involved in our faith-based communities in Colorado Springs, and so that community element is important to us, and so that's one thing we always like to highlight for you guys is the things that you're doing for the community, and obviously you're talking about a lot of whiskey community, but the opportunity you had to do with the school here.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
And give that back. I mean, that's a huge thing. And as I understand, that construction project isn't even done yet. Correct?
No, they're getting close.
They're getting close.
But I really feel like too, it sort of was a twofold. It's not why we did it, but I feel like we've always been supportive of those kids.
And tell us a little more about the school. Like, what do they do?
So before it was just a day school, and they had a few beds, but as the trajectory of our society in general, a lot more people are unhoused. So they had more need, if you will. So they increased their living quarters by exponential numbers. I think they have something, I don't want to say it. It's somewhere between, let's say, 1 and 100 beds. I'm not sure, but it's really a jump up from what they had available.
Sure.
So it's giving those teens a place to feel comfortable and learn.
Sure.
You know, I mean, have the opportunity to better themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know, I sort of circling back a little bit. You know, knock on wood, we've never been tagged. You know, I kind of feel like they watch out for us as much as we watch out for them, and so it's a positive for both of us.
And so I understand that when you bought this building 12 years ago,
We bought it
10
in 2012.
2012. Okay.
So yeah, 12.
But you've seen this community change, and you guys have kind of been a staple in it throughout that change. And so, like, you know, how have you seen that evolve?
So we were definitely off the beaten path when we first opened. People were like, "You're where?" And like, you know, you take this nondescript turn off Broadway, and it was all mixed use industrial at the time. And it was a little off-putting. I mean, you know, people were like, "Wow, this is great once you get inside," you know.
As all miners and cowboys like
Hey, it's a ski lodge. It's a ski lodge on Skid Row.
it's got steampunk vibe.
Yeah.
But it, you know, I joke, we used to take the trash out at the end of the night using the buddy system. There was always someone back there. And now it's yoga pants and baby strollers. And, you know, I kind of miss the grungier element of the neighborhood, to be honest, because it was kind of cool and edgy. But they've definitely, I mean, we're surrounded by condos now. And
Yeah, it was this big project. I drove up, and that was not here last time I came. I was like, wow, that's
they just throw them up.
Yeah.
It's been super convenient with all the construction and stuff. You know, people in and out. It's been great.
Well, Ryan's looking for a new home for his burgeoning family with his plants. So
It's big time.
We need some space.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like as whiskey matures, our neighborhood has sort of matured. But it's nice. Yeah. I like that one.
Very nice.
So it's been fun to be a part of that.
Yeah.
You know, we've got Ratio has a tap house and a beer garden right around the corner. Trash Hawk Tavern, that's usually our after work dive bar. It's probably the best new dive bar in town.
Yeah.
We've got the Brutal Poodle, which is a death metal bar right over here.
Great.
That has
That's hilarious.
like a 5-star kitchen. It's hilarious.
It's
Like
actually,
everybody's sitting at the
phenomenal
bar,
food.
you know, a bunch of ruffians, like, you know, but in the dining room, it's all like families from over in Platt Park, you know, skinny puppies playing, or you know.
It's great.
So it's an eclectic mix, you know, and a lot of times you'll see folks that took the tour at Laws, and Laws is building out their cocktail bar as well, but they'll walk in and be like, "Oh yeah, the tour guide down at Laws said to come get a cocktail from you guys," and we send people down there. So it's
That's
just
cool.
been a fun experience watching this kind of
For
go
sure.
up around us.
Love to cycle back to the Colorado industry because, you know, as a podcast, we're focused on Colorado, right? And we love state, and we love a lot of the craft distilleries, what you guys are doing here. But I mean, we've kind of bounced around from the history. I mean, you guys kind of came up at that little bit of a boom, right? And you kind of cycled back a little bit later, but you guys have seen COVID, right? You've seen the shift to distilleries shifting to hand sanitizer, but everybody needs to buy whiskey at home. Now they're coming back to the cock. A lot of things going on. You're winning awards in national competitions. Tell us, what do you see as the future of Colorado distilling specifically, and like your guys' role in that?
I certainly think that Colorado in general is at the forefront. I mean, you have your pockets of like real hotbed activity. Pennsylvania being one. There's some great distilleries coming out of Pennsylvania. Colorado, of course. California. Aren't you a big fan of Redwood Empire?
Like Redwood.
Yeah, out of California. So I definitely see, you know, with some miles on the tires, if you will, all of our products are just getting better. And I'm the collective all, you know, everybody in Colorado. And I think as sort of the polish wears off on craft distilling, you know, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, I've got this neighbor." You're really going to have to hang your hat on product if it's craft or macro distill. You know, you got to have a good product. And I think at Bear Creek, we're there, you know, and I think there's some super sustainable brands in Colorado. I mean, and we have the luxury of following Leopold Brothers. Stranahans. I mean, true trailblazers, right? So we got the easy part of the sledding, and those guys did a lot of the heavy lifting. So I sort of see Colorado as almost like the Sonoma of distilled spirits. You know, you
Don't tell Kentucky.
yeah.
They're going for Napa. So, you know.
But like, what other state can you have urban experiences? You have some great distilleries in the mountains. You've got distilleries in small towns.
Right.
You know, you've got super mega corporate distilleries. I mean, it's just, as a state, I think we're sitting pretty. I think we're doing we're going to be okay. Yeah. But you got to have that. You got to get that good juice.
Yeah,
and I think we have it.
So you traveling around to these different competitions, and I understand you won a tasting competition recently, or
not
that's
necessarily.
the Bardstown one.
Yeah, so we have to talk about it. That was the World Stop Whiskey Tasters put on by Bardstown Bourbon Company. They just did it 2 years, in 2020 and 2021. And I got to be a part of the one in 2021, which is really cool. And that really helped me like develop a little bit more of a whiskey palate, because I trained pretty hard, to be honest.
Right.
And training means trying a lot of different whiskey and trying to figure out how to guess these things. Because essentially, when you're doing blind tasting, all you can really ask is like measurable things, right? Like, so that's what you're getting tested on, like proof, age, mash bill, producer.
Right.
So I did not win. My excuse there is I didn't know at the time, but I had COVID.
That'll mess with your palate.
This whiskey smells like COVID.
It was outside. The competition was held outside. I let as many people know as I could once I found out. But I
turned into a super spreader event.
It didn't. Okay. God.
I'm sure the alcohol helped kill.
Absolutely. But yeah, I did not have my full senses by far, and it was really frustrating, to be honest. And I don't know if I'll ever get over that, because I was ready. But his name's Mike. Sorry, forget your last name. Alcott. He has a podcast, All Things Whiskey.
Oh yeah.
He won.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So, which is kind of cool. Actually, the two winners from both years both live out here.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
ADHD.
He's based out here in Denver, right?
Mike is.
Yep.
Yeah. Matt's out on the Western Slope.
Okay.
So, that's kind of, again, that's where my inspiration for Whiskey Fight Club came from. Was based off of that.
Oh, that's cool.
So I have a question. As the expert, I'm terrible at pulling notes and nosing whiskey. I just know what I like.
Ooh, tastes wet.
Yeah, tastes like alcohol.
Yeah.
So if someone like me, or someone who's listening or watching to this, wants to help develop their palate, what would you recommend?
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just repetition, to be honest. And there's not really many tricks. It's just, you kind of have to do it a lot. It's always really helpful to taste with people, because it's hard to say what you're thinking, right? Or what you're tasting. Like, it reminds you of something, but you just can't quite put them together.
Right.
It helps if you're doing it as a group, because someone will throw something out and it'll incept you a little bit and be like, that's right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that is. Flavor wheels are really helpful tools. It's essentially like this, it's a wheel and it has a bunch of flavors on it.
Right.
And that it's, again, just kind of like jogging your memory a little bit to be like, it's something like that. It is actually strawberry. It is actually banana, whatever it is. So, again, I mentioned it, like coffee was a big thing for me. Like, we really, really pushed for palate development there. And that's just my point to say, like, it takes time.
Right.
Like, I did that for 7 years and then started doing it with whiskey, and just keep drinking.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
Responsibly.
Yeah, responsibly, 21 over, obviously. But I mean, it's like if you really want to, like, get the most out of your whiskey, like, you have to lean into it. It's easy for me to just kind of make fun of myself for it sometimes, because I definitely am not always just like grabbing a bunch of Glencairns and like technically trying to taste everything. I love just a glass of whiskey, like pour it over a bunch of ice and drink it, enjoy it. You can enjoy it in so many different ways. It's just another aspect of that. Right. And and do it for fun. Like, don't do it because you are feeling peer pressure from other people. It doesn't matter. It's all made up, right? Like, none of these things are actually added into whiskey if we're doing that subjective style of tasting. If you are trying to do more of a blind thing and be like, okay, how do you figure out proof? How do you figure out age? Again, it's just going to be repetition, but focusing on different things.
Right. Well, as Ryan Negley puts it, right, the only thing he likes to tell people they should be tasting his whiskey, you're fantastic and awesome. So
yeah.
I was like, that's good. Like, because I mean, there are people that, some Instagram folks out there that, putting out a lot of content stuff, they seem to always taste like dessert notes, like creme brulee and all these other things, and it's just like, but then someone else is like, no, it tastes like, oatmeal or whatever.
I don't know if I've ever tried creme brulee, so I wouldn't have a reference point for it.
There's this great, first of all, get on that.
Yes.
That's almost off-putting.
That's fine. I'll whip some up.
Okay.
So
we'll set it up here. So in a few minutes, we'll
creme
try creme brulee and some of the offerings you have.
Creme brulee, bourbon brothers in Colorado Springs, hit it up.
Boom.
Yeah.
There you go.
They've got good
know,
stuff.
I personally don't tell people when they ask, like, what am I going to be tasting here?
Right.
I'm like, well, I don't know what your taste buds, how they work. So I don't want to influence your palate.
Right.
But my favorite thing is at events, and people are like, what should I try? Like, any of those would be good. You just pick one.
Right.
I like them all.
Then we'll move on.
Yeah. Tasting it, it is a weird thing. And at the end of the day, like, we are just trying to put our best foot forward with product, and we just want people to enjoy it however they want. I mean, I think that's so important, to be approachable, and it's fun to dip your toe a little bit further in sometimes with tasting, but Ryan's just kind of tend to know everything.
Whoa.
Ryan's
are on the
I know
get it.
a lot about a little bit of stuff.
No, I like that.
I'm changing my name to Ryan. I'm a Ryan. Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson.
I like it.
Perfect. We just want you to like it at the end.
And then if somebody wants to pick up a bottle, what's your distribution look like here in Colorado?
We're statewide.
Okay.
Yeah, we pretty much have coverage throughout the state. Most major retailers, boutique bottle shops, bars, restaurants, golf courses.
And of course, stepping in here and buying a bottle.
Or you can buy a bottle here. Yeah, look, we'll be developing a direct-to-consumer here soon-ish. So you could even go online. And liquor stores, depending, can ship. Mm-hmm. Like if you're in an area of Colorado, some of the bigger ones will actually ship.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, we like to pretend we have an audience beyond the state of Colorado. Maybe 4 people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If for the out-of-state folks, what's your recommendation for them?
So, as an entity, we are not allowed to ship. So we're looking for some parity with the wine industry, because the wine industry, that's where they make a good chunk of their changes.
Sure.
Yep. Shipping wine. We're not allowed to do that, but just like the other larger liquor stores can ship as well. But there's, I think out of the 50 states, it's 30 something you can ship to.
Okay.
We're not allowed to ship to Texas, I know. A couple spots up in New England, just because their laws don't allow it.
Right.
So, unfortunately, we're a little bit limited right now. We've sent some booze up to Wyoming and Montana, primarily Colorado for now.
So, if you're hearing this, grab a plane ticket, come out and visit the beautiful city of Denver, beautiful Colorado. If you want to visit in spring, expect both 70 degrees and snow. So, it
was great for the allergy.
But come down and check out, meet Jay and Ryan, Billy Bob Bourbon maybe if he's out and about.
We'll see.
But thank you guys so much for coming on. Really appreciate you guys hosting us. This has been a lot of fun. To get to know you guys, and cheers.
Cheers,
guys. Thank you very much.
We're going to be doing a tasting here at Bear Creek Distillery in Denver. Ryan Stoltzfus is our guide today. He guided us a tour, and he's going to be guiding us through. What are we drinking today?
So we got a couple rye products. Rye is, it's got a lot to offer. There's a lot of flavor there. It can be kind of a polarizing thing, especially when it comes to our whiskey, which I kind of love. Like, I think it's important to have preferences. Yeah. We got to have our favorites when it comes to things. But I do like that rye is it is what it is. It really stands up in the glass. But for us, we like to celebrate that in a couple different ways with a vodka and well. So we're going to try both of these and see if we can find a little bit of continuity. Obviously, there's going to be some big differences there. I would hope so.
Sure.
But it's kind of like what we talked about when we were doing a tour. It comes down to like the amount of distillation that is separating these categories, because these two products are starting out the exact same way. They're only becoming different when we throw it in our still. Obviously, the whiskey's going into a barrel and the vodka is not. But they start as pretty much the same thing. So they're both 100% rye grain.
Interesting.
And how many distillations is the vodka going through?
So we kind of say that we do a 5 times distilled vodka, and that is, again, just to get that proof point up to 190 proof. And that's why we celebrate that with vodka, or put that on our labels, is we are distilling it a bunch of times, got to get it up to 190 proof so we can legally now call it vodka. But we are still allowing the soul of that grain to come through, because our rye vodka is going to have a little bit of that sort of spicy, oily, almost briny character. And we love that because we do a lot of cocktails here.
Right.
And turns out that works very well in a heavier cocktail, like a Bloody Mary, martini perhaps, where you have those big, rich flavors. The vodka actually comes through. It kind of helps to balance things out a little bit. And we love it in that regard. It's kind of its own thing. I never expect everyone to like everything we make.
Right.
That's insane. You should, but no, it's
we love it.
That's
the
no,
important.
for sure, and I do as well. Not a biased opinion at all. But I think, as Jay mentioned a while ago in our interview, if you're a vodka purist looking for something that is completely neutral, this is not really that, and that's okay.
Right.
We're just trying to craft something that's a little bit different. Again, this is an organic dark northern rye that we're getting from Heartland Mills. Rye is a fickle grain. It is a very starchy product. I've talked about baking maybe too much, but I can't help it. Rye bread is a tough thing to handle. But the flavor is incredible.
Yes, absolutely.
And it is the same way when you're mashing. It's a sticky grain. It is sticking to everything. We have this big, looks like a metal paddle that sometimes we'll have to like chip away at things or break up these basketball-sized chunks of rye flour, because it's just like that starch is just bringing it together in like glue. It's not an easy thing to work with, but man, the flavor is something else. So,
well, and I could never say I would like to nose a vodka.
Yeah,
but this actually,
it's great, right?
Yeah, there's not that rubbing alcohol medicinal note on it at all. It smells organic and earthy with, it's got a heavier, it almost smells sweet.
It does. I was going to say, it smells really sweet today. I think I get something different out of it most times, but it's sweet, maybe even like a splash of vanilla,
Yeah.
Which, again, you said it well. Like, this is weird for me to be like, oh, vodka. Wow.
Right. I mean, it's usually supposed to be dark, right? Where you stick your nose in it, but here it's not.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the whiskey category, but I love coming back to our vodkas and just remembering like they have so much to offer for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah. Cheers. Let's give it a little taste.
Yeah. That's interesting, and it's not like tasting. It doesn't have that heavy liquor taste that you get with vodka,
right?
It's kind of got almost some sort of fruit, like I'm
going like if we're going fruit, I'll go like a dried fruit of some sort, almost like a little raisiny, or like a prune, or like a darker sort of feel to it.
The Japanese white fruit.
I don't know.
Didn't know my fruits.
Oh man,
it's a little too fancy for me.
Yeah. I ate a kiwi once. It was crazy.
It's like lychee. That's what I'm tasting. I'm getting a lychee taste. It's
a little
almost got
lychee call out.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that. Getting a little appley on.
I'm sorry if I totally misregioned that fruit, but
hey, that's on you. So.
No, but it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's you could sip that without.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So I will say, Laws Whiskey House, the owner Al Laws. Whenever he comes in here, this is his drink. He gets
Just a straight vodka.
a double rye vodka over ice.
Interesting.
And straight to the dome.
Yeah. On the
So,
finish,
respect.
I almost got some like that herbal taste, almost
Yeah,
like a gin,
As
but
soon
without
as you said
the
that-
heavy gin.
Yeah, as soon
Right.
as you said that, I feel like I did get more of that like sweeter, more herby sort of finish on it.
That's really good.
Finish on
Yeah.
a vodka. What a thought, right?
I can imagine what this tastes like in a Moscow Mule or something.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty awesome because again, like it's still a vodka cocktail, but we're actually able to layer on some flavor just from that spirit. It's
Right.
really fun.
I'd rename it to Denver Mule for sure.
There you go.
We what do we call ours? The Denver Donkey.
Denver Donkey. There you
So,
go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's also the name of your football team, right?
Absolutely. Get them donkeys. Come on now. This is our year.
So what do we got here?
All right, so moving on to a slightly different looking liquid. It's going to be our rye whiskey. Both of these, again, are made out of 100% rye grain. So we're really just changing our distillation techniques a little bit and then taking a few years longer to produce it because we're aging it in that barrel. Again, we're using those 30-gallon barrels for this product, so a little bit of a smaller barrel. So we're always going to be aged between 2 and 2.5 years on this. I really like our rye whiskey for its sweetness. It's really fun to share with people, and you tell them like this is 100% rye grain, and that's a little intimidating if you're not necessarily a big rye fan, right? Like, because I mean, I'm a big fan of like a big, rich, spicy rye, like an old Overhold or something like that, where it's just like, oh yeah, no, it's the rye whiskey.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really cool. But this shows kind of the opposite side of that, where
Right.
you do get some sweetness. You do get a little bit more fruit. Obviously, we're going to have some spice. I want some spice. I'm telling you it's a rye whiskey, but I do believe that this is a bit more approachable in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, it smells off the nose like bourbon drinkers with rye because it's
Yeah.
You
got
can
that
smell
sweetness,
the sweetness.
yeah.
Yeah. Which, again, I love that it's 100% rye. And, like, being from Kentucky, and I always laugh when I say I feel like my coworkers are so tired of me saying that, but it's like my point of credibility, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So
It's like when
sorry
you're
to
vegan and you just gotta
everyone.
let everybody know, right?
So that's the boat I'm in now. All right. Cool. But a lot of ryes coming out of there have a pretty substantial amount of corn because we like sweet things there.
Right.
It's just that's what it is because bourbon is sweet. So rye to compete is usually that, but this is just rye. And still, like, I love what Jeff is doing with it. I appreciate the fact that it's an organic grain. We don't list that anywhere on our bottle. I just appreciate the owners wanting to support that sustainability. Doesn't make it good, right? You can still mess it up.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate that choice.
but doesn't
there.
I mean off the nose, this is not messed up. This is
For sure. Yeah, still get a little bit of that fruit. I think it's got some good, darker, richer fruits to it.
I'm getting
Kinda
obviously
Christmassy.
the strong caramel vanilla notes. I mean, kind of common, right? Little spice.
Still,
Yeah,
it's still
like
one in
the-
there though.
like the
Like,
nutmeg.
Absolutely,
as common
yeah.
as it is, like I hope those are.
That's
in
one of my
there.
favorite things about rye. It's got that, like, I love vanilla, so like
Yeah.
the heavier vanilla notes and stuff that come through with a little bit of like baking Christmas spice is one of my favorite things about rye.
Yeah.
So like that's where
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
cheers. Yeah,
I
don't
almost
forget
forgot
that, man.
I didn't know. I didn't know if we did it again. I'm a cheersing kind of guy.
We're gonna have some fun with the edits on that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. It's really smooth.
Yeah.
You can,
I'll take another taste.
Oh yeah. It's just I don't know. It's great. It gets very Christmassy. I like that. We like to talk about how rye is spicy, and I think when we say that we're referencing a lot of like the sensation,
Yeah.
like that sort of tingly sort of feel, and you do get a little bit of that.
yeah, but it's not
it's not
overpowering.
Not
like-
overpowering.
Yeah.
It's just nice, and those like clean baking spices come through,
Mhm.
kind of backed up by a little bit of that sort of darker, richer.
Yeah, I
I'm
get that like the allspice pepper,
yeah, I'm getting
Nice
that.
and
a little bit of dark like stone fruit.
I'm getting that like baked bread flavor coming off the finish there too.
Absolutely.
Smell it's like, man, that's good.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, you can. It's very dynamic. I feel like a lot of our spirits. I mean, that's how drinking is, right? Like things can change depending on like what you've had to eat today, your mood, weather, like your health, like, and that's kind of fun, kind of annoying if you taste something and it's just like, this is the best thing I've ever had, and then you just can't replicate it.
Yeah,
that's a little annoying. But like, I like how it's dynamic, and today it's just tasting so good. The spices are so clean and clear.
Well, it helps that we've got a cool kind of a wintry spring day going on. That helps, right?
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting too, because comparing it just immediately after the rye vodka, you can just really taste the rye notes that are still exist in
it's
this.
pretty cool, right?
I love that.
I appreciate the call on vanilla, like when you're looking for rye whiskeys. I do think that comes out a little bit in the vodka as well, which is kind of fun.
Well, and then the thing that some, especially young ryes and 2-year-old ryes, often they have a kind of musty oak flavor that can come with it. This doesn't, like, I don't taste any oak in here at all. It's got everything else you want. So
I feel like you get a little bit of it on the nose, but on the palate it doesn't really.
For
me at least.
And even the finish, right, where that heavy oak flavor can kind of linger. It's kind of that nasty kind of cardboard taste,
For sure. But and it's like we were talking about on the tour. It's pros and cons to barrel sizes, right? Like this will never taste like something that's aged in a 53 gallon barrel, and vice versa. And I think that there's good enough pros and cons to both. Right. But I think that you put your best foot forward, follow best practices on your distillation, and trust the process when it comes to aging in a barrel.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you guys are in the area in Denver, please stop by their tasting room. Ask for a Denver donkey with that.
Denver donkey.
And I'm not talking about the football team either. I'm talking about their rye down here.
No one gets what you're saying.
All the Niner fans will, I promise. It's going to be in there. So, Ryan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And guys, come check it out.
Thanks.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us on Whiskey Wanderlust. Subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and all other major podcast platforms. And be sure to leave us a rating and review. Follow us on social media and visit us online at whiskeywanderlust.co.